Hey, meteorologist James Wieland here with another great episode of the Impact Zone, and finally, I have good news to tell you about. The Atlantic is about to wake up. Finally! Things are looking good in the forecast. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it here. We do have some waves in the forecast. You may have to drive for them, but we do have them. So let's get to it here. Let me show you what's going on. First, get rid of my mug. Dink, bye-bye. Alright, so here's what's going on. We have Edward out here, and this will be our first wave maker. Not for us here in South Florida. Of course, the pesky Bahamas will block everything that's coming from the east and southeast, and you're going to have to go up coast for that, and we'll talk about how far up coast here in a minute. But first, this is 85-mile-per-hour hurricane. It is expected to strengthen into a major hurricane. That's Category 3, 115-mile-per-hour winds, as the forecast track puts it up towards Bermuda, then bangs a hard right and heads up into the North Atlantic. So it doesn't bother any landmass except for sending some juicy swells our way. You have to drive a little bit up coast, but hey, I don't think anybody's going to complain because things are going to look real good here as this thing hooks around and sends us some nice swell. Of course, going to be long period swell, those big walled up closeouts. It's going to be tough to find an open line out there. Some spots will have it, most spots won't. You know how it is. We get these long period hurricane swells coming on in, and well, for the most part, they're closed out. But we'll take what we can get. It should max out head high plus. Probably late Wednesday is when we're looking at that to happen too. And it does get pretty far east. I mean, almost to the islands here. That's definitely far east enough to send a swell for sure. So there's no doubt about that we're going to see some swell from this. Yeah, this computer is not liking to handle this program here, but we will press on. So let's go through time here and see. Like I said, there it goes. It moves up, bangs a right before it gets to Bermuda, and heads up and out to sea. By Wednesday, that's when the first of the swell is going to start to hit. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in and take a closer look at our local winds to see if that's going to start to work out. And it looks like it is, because what we have going on, let me push this down a little bit farther. We have a frontal boundary that's going to be draped right here, and out ahead of the front, what we always see is west and southwest winds. So that's going to draw out a lot of this wind out to be offshore. Now, will the sea breeze be strong enough to bring it onshore in the afternoon? Possibly. The sun is still pretty high in the sky, so that is a possibility. But I think we're good to go with offshore winds pretty much everywhere in the morning. Again, the Bahama shadow, the swell is going to be east to maybe at first a little bit southeast. So this Bahama shadow is going to go up to here. Let me erase all this. So I would say Sebastian northward, we'll see the brunt of the swell. South of there won't see zero, but you're going to cut down on the swell as it has to bend around the islands here, and that loses swell energy. So Fort Pierce, sure, you'll see something, but it will be significantly less. Down to Jensen Beach, will you see something? Sure, but again, I don't think it's going to be anything huge, maybe waist high or so at the best there. Maybe you'll get lucky, but I'm thinking the best bet is to head farther up coast. And as far as the wind is concerned, like I said, we're looking real nice with the wind shooting straight offshore. So it should be well groomed, super clean, and well, with that kind of offshore flow like that, that'll hold up those swells as they come in, and they'll stay like real up there, feathery, as they move on in. Now let's go through the day on Wednesday, and notice the wind does slack off a little bit, so that's why I think, yeah, there's a possibility the wind can turn around and be on shore, especially if the sun stays out a little bit, or if we get some storms to form right up in here Then the wind is going to suck up into the storms here. They're going to push back towards the coast. Then that will continue with offshore winds after the storm passes for a nice cleanup evening sesh out there. I plan on heading up coast myself too, maybe even staying in a hotel or something somewhere up here, Melbourne in the Atlantic Satellite Beach area, because should be good there. Sebastian will be pretty good too. If you don't have time to drive, you know, a little bit farther south, the swell will be cut down. Now, Thursday morning, here's what it's looking like, because I still think the swell will be pumping in Thursday morning. We're still looking at some offshore winds right here, northwest winds. But look at what happens. This front actually pushes all the way down to the Cape. So I think north of the Cape, we may start to get blown out by Thursday morning, especially up in North Florida on the first coast there. You're going to see these hard northeast winds start to pick up for you, and that's going to blow it all out into here. Now, south of the Cape, we still should have some light offshore wind, especially Coco, since it curves a little bit facing south. You have some offshore winds in the morning. Now, it just depends on how far this front wants to get. Of course, this time of year, we don't expect to get a front to push all the way down, but sometimes it washes out and the wind comes down, and that could be the case going into Friday. I do think by Thursday afternoon, the wind, even up coast here, it'll start to switch onshore and it'll pick up out of the northeast. So the clean conditions will go away by, say, late Thursday. Friday morning, here, let's look and see. 8 a.m. Friday morning, here it is right here. Wait for it to catch up. And it doesn't want to show anything. That's nice. Let me go back one and see if it shows that. No? No? What is going on? Now it doesn't want to work at all. Come on! There we go. Alright, so anyway, so I think the swell will hold as we go into Friday up coast. But the wind will be the issue on Friday. We will start to pick up more of a strong northeast wind. The swell, all in all, will be tapering off. It'll start to taper off on Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday, it'll be a few feet less. Still some long period swells coming in. But we're going to start to pick up more of this northeast wind. And hey, for South Florida, that's a good thing, because we're starting up a whole new wave maker here on Thursday night, Friday, because that front pushing off the coast. Let me widen the angle here so you can see it. There's Edouard right here. It's gone, no longer a wave maker for us. But this is Thursday afternoon right now. We have a front kind of draped across the Atlantic right here. And then we have a couple little lows trying to form along this front here and kind of ripple up towards the northeast. That's going to be good news for us, because it's going to keep this pressure gradient pinched and this nice northeast fetch pointed our way, and that's going to happen for late Thursday all the way through Friday. Saturday, this thing really starts to open up in here with some nice fetch, and that's going to send a good northeast swell down into South Florida starting Saturday, lasting Sunday, Monday, and probably into Tuesday. And the good part of this is, hopefully, with the front stalled out right here, south of the front, the wind is just calm. So it's going to be light offshore in the morning, clean conditions, and a nice northeast swell coming on in. Probably not huge, but a good size, chest shoulder high, I would say, as we go into probably late Saturday, Sunday, Monday time frame, waist to chest, maybe building to shoulder high or so, because look at this fetch now. Look at this. And I'm pretty confident about this because I've really been looking at this consistently here for a few days, and it hasn't changed all that much. There's been little subtle changes, but the fact of the matter is, remember I tell you, we look at these models, not for the exactness as we go farther out into time, but for kind of the trend that it's showing. And the trend is showing that we have a stalled out front here, a couple lows trying to form along the front and move off towards the northeast, and that in turn pinches off this pressure gradient and sends back some good fetch and some good swell right in our swell window right down to South Florida. This is Saturday's map right here. This is Saturday afternoon. So this right here, this fetch here, again, not the strongest, so we're not talking like bombing overhead waves, but you know, this fetch right here, still going on Saturday. These waves take 2 days to get here. So we're talking Monday now before the waves from this get here at all. And we'll go through time here and we'll see that the fetch kind of lingers for a little while of varying strengths before it finally dies on out. On Sunday, it's done. So the waves created Sunday, so that means we're going to have a swell that just kind of, and notice it doesn't move out of the swell window at all. It doesn't abruptly hit land. It doesn't move up here. It just slowly tapers off. So what that means for us is, and we all know these type of swells, each day it just gets a little bit smaller, but the swell keeps coming in, just gets a little bit smaller each day here before it finally goes away. And I think that'll probably happen late Tuesday-ish, Wednesday, when the swell is finally gone altogether. So we have a nice streak of waves coming our way. The first swell from Edouard is going to take a little drive for you to go find some waves, but then after that, as we get into the weekend, I think you'll be able to stay right at home and score some swell. Then again, the GFS is picking up something happening here. It's been doing that forever. I don't know if I believe that. We have another front moving off the coast right here. Again, this is super long range, but it gives us hope. Look at that, another nice shot of northeast fetch right here. Totally possible. This will probably change a million times though, because this is way out. This is the end of September right here. But it's just saying that, hey, these fronts are going to start to move off the northeast coast, and although they don't make it all the way down here to South Florida, they still within swell range for us. They're still in our swell window and wave makers for us. Now, what this model does is it spins up this thing in the Gulf, and that in turn, by the following weekend, or Monday and Tuesday, will give a whole bunch of wind chop for us. A nice southeast wind swell, wind chop, wind swell. Good direction on this too. Straight off of Cuba. That gives it a little bit longer fetch to give nice bowly, like rights and south swell there. That looks like a really good direction. But honestly, I don't know if I believe that quite yet. So don't get too excited about that. But again, the fact of the matter is, even if this thing wasn't here, we have a big old high out here. We have nice clockwise flow around it, and that could produce a little bit of wind chop for us also. Now, let's switch this thing and just look at one of the other models, the European. It's a much better model anyways, and we'll see. Look at that. Right on with the GFS. The same thing with the GFS. And honestly, the European has been a little bit slow to really spin this thing up really strong. It's been very hesitant to do that. But we'll go through time here real quick. I'm trying to make these videos a little shorter. But it hooks out, kind of the same deal. It almost makes it to the about as far west as the islands before it starts to curve out. But it also is showing a little fetch developing on Thursday. A little low forming out here, another one kind of riding up the front. The swell strengthens, it gets bigger on Friday. Kind of the same deal the GFS had going. And look at that, this is actually better. This is a better solution than the GFS. Oh, but look at what happens here. This is actually worse now. This is a huge fetch here, all pointed at us. That's great and all, but look at how far south it puts it. Wow. It puts us all the way down into just about Palm Beach County, hard northeast winds. So we wouldn't really want that, because that's Friday. That's Friday, so yeah, and that makes it all the way down through Palm Beach County. So that would be blown out on Friday instead of like the GFS had it stalled right here, calm wind right here. Look at what this thing is doing. This thing is bringing strong northeast winds all the way down through Palm Beach County and most of South Florida. This is Saturday early morning. So this would be a blown out mess. But an underlying ground swell, pretty good size from this fetch right here. It's just our local winds do not look good on the European model at this moment in time. That could change though, and my honest opinion here is that the Europeans a little bit jumping on a little bit too strong, jumping on this push, because this time of year, I mean, it's hard to get this pushed all the way down. I mean, this doesn't necessarily mean the front pushed all the way through, just the northeast winds do, and the front will just kind of dissipate and wash out. But still, it's pretty ambitious to do that this time of year, and then to have hard northeast winds like this all the way down in the South Florida. Totally possible, but I'm thinking it's gonna stall a little bit farther up to the north, say maybe just past the Space Coast, maybe around Vero, and then that's about it. The tides out there, for anybody wanting to know, if you're heading up coast, low tide on Wednesday 9:30, high tide 3:30. Thursday low tide 10:30, high tide 4:30. So that'll be the times, and also for any waves coming to South Florida here, maybe starting late Friday, Saturday, Sunday is when we're thinking. You got to be careful of these things. Yep, moon jellies are back. Jeff Beach was out there, a local surf photographer. He's out over the Juneau Pier and taking pictures, and he got just swarmed with these things out there. So it's time of year, September, October, we start to get these moon jellies in here, and that's what we have to look forward to. So thanks for watching, appreciate it. I'm going to be off. I took Wednesday and Thursday off just so I can hit this swell up coast. So I'm not going to be able to update this video for a little while, but I will try to update the words part of the forecast here. Maybe Tuesday, but probably Friday. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the water. Take it easy. Peace.